Hi Aries, here is a general look at your solar chart for December 2014. Now I don't know about you, but I think that year went really fast. Yes, it's really quite shocking how fast that year went, and I hope that you had an interesting and a challenging year, because if it's not challenging, it's kind of a bit forgettable, isn't it? So, and your sign is sort of at the forefront of challenges, and you quite like challenges, really. So, at this time of the year, the sun is in another fire sign, that's Sagittarius, and so that underpins your fiery sun energies, and it's always a really good wave coming towards you when the sun's in Sagittarius. It expands, tends to expand your world. It tends to get you feeling as though there's something just around the corner, that things are kind of maybe taking shape or developing, or you're learning more, your mind's opening. It could be that your heart is opening as well, particularly with people who are maybe know more than you and you can instruct you in some way, or indeed people or beings, shall we say, we don't have to be confined to people, do we, who are literally physically at a distance, but also maybe they have a knowledge, a background, a culture, a language, whatever it is, which you can benefit from, which is interesting to you, and which indeed refreshes what you know already, or teaches you stuff that you hadn't got a clue about before. And also for some of you, this position of the Sun and Mercury and Venus, they're all in the same area, will emphasize publications, promotions, communications of all kinds. I've already mentioned education. And the law. Some of you may need to be looking into what somebody's rights are on something. Might be yourself, might be somebody else. And this energy is generally one which tends to balance your perspective. So you come out of a rather, inward sort of energy, rather introspective energy in November. And you are coming into this far more outgoing, giving you a breath of fresh air, giving you a feeling of space energy in December. And it's a good time to put the word out on something on a bigger stage, beat the drum on something maybe, and to just get a broader perspective on things, get the eagle eye view. And then, first of all, Venus moves out of there into the next area, followed in about 6 days by Mercury, and then in about another 5 days by the Sun into the following area. So Venus goes first, then Mercury, then the Sun. They all peel off and they go into the next area, which is more about standards, your standing, the status quo, the establishment, power figures or authority figures, or those who are hierarchically above you, whether they really are or not, you know, in the pecking order sort of thing. And actually this is where a lot of stuff's been playing out for you, you Aries people, and in fact Moon Aries and Rising Sign Aries people, because this is where this long-standing transit of Pluto has been. And of course, if you follow the astrology online, you'll know about these two in the ring slugging it out together. You know, 1 minute one's getting the upper hand, and the other minute the other's getting the upper hand, and they are a bit antagonistic to each other simply because of the angle they're coming at each other. In the 60s, these two had their arms around each other's shoulders. You know, they were real buddies, and they ushered in a huge wave, a revolutionary wave of change throughout the culture, and you know, just in the systems, you know, that we were living in then, because they were in a good angle to each other, an easy, shall I say, easy angle. But in the 30s, they again were in this really hard angle where they are now. And so make no mistake, there is a new dawning happening here, because they're both planets of change, and they are really, really, especially Pluto, really radical game changers. And you've got this planet in this very long transit in your area of profession, in your area of career. This is the energy of the snake sloughing off the old skin in the area of career and slithering out in bright new colors, you know. But it can take a crisis, it can take some knockbacks to get the penny to drop that actually, no, it isn't going to be the same as it was before. And you really do have to bend like the tree in the wind, you know. And then, of course, you do have Uranus in your sign, which is another, I call it, you know, the big hitter. It's a slightly, well, it's a very different energy to Pluto, but it's another planet of change. And so, from, I would say, keep aware between the 19th and the 26th in particular, could be a day either side, when Venus and Mercury and the Moon all go over Pluto-Uranus, the Pluto-Uranus points. That's just the point. When I say points, those are the degrees. So between the 19th and the 26th, and that is more or less, apart from the Sun, when Mercury and Venus, for instance, are going to be contributing in a really quite positive way, I would say, to this professional area, or this area of your standing, you know, how they see you. So if it's not profession, it's like your role in some way, or it can be that you are having more interaction with those in authority, those in the know, those who are in a position to help you, indeed. Bureaucrats, officials, petty officials, forms maybe as well. All of that sort of comes into that area there, but because it's Venus with Mercury, it can just take the sharp edges off things and indeed help to create more favorable circumstances, because you're getting facilitation through these so-called people in positions of power, or beings in positions of power. Can be parents as well, guardians, or parental type figures as well. All of that can tend to be positively emphasized if you have to present something, package something, if you have to sort of show yourself able and willing and competent and efficient or whatever, you tend to get this good light coming, raying down onto you, or across to you, or up. Maybe it's up lighting. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily all have to be happening from up there, does it? From Venus. And Venus is in there from the 11th. So for a little while, you've still got the Sun and Mercury in the previous area, which is very much of a learning curve. You know, I'm learning stuff. I'm eating the air. It's got promise. It's got potential here. I'm making plans. The pieces of the jigsaw are coming together. But then all of them slide across into this more grown-up area to do with, you know, as I say, the establishment, the outer image, and it's more about your position then. But as I say, Venus in there does tend to be helpful. However, between the 19th and the 26th, Venus actually goes over Pluto, the degree of Pluto and Uranus between the 19th and the 21st, give or take. But it's, yeah. And then a Mercury between the 24th and 26th, but actually the Moon nudges in there. And so there can be misunderstandings with others, or there can be an intensity with others, but in that phase there. Particularly between the 19th and the 21st, maybe it works out like that for you. Someone can touch a nerve. Maybe it's you touching somebody's nerve. Or maybe it's somebody swaying you in some way. Maybe there's a coercive feeling. It can be a little bit like that too sometimes. Maybe it's thinking more deeply, feeling more deeply. It's a deeper connection. There's something riding on a relationship or on a deal, or It can be, you know, you're feeling quite compulsive, you're feeling quite, you can get a bit obsessive there about a person, or, you know, feelings related to them, or it can be something else. But anyway, so you're drilling down more in between the 24th and 26th to a something, to a reality, to get an insight. The thinking is penetrating. It might be coming at you, this penetrating thinking. You know, these words, this opinion, this intensity, but it's quite radical. And you will be, however, wanting to get to the truth, wanting to get to the bottom of things, whatever the things are. And but there can be this feeling of power struggle. And then right sandwiched in the middle of all of this is between the 22nd and the 23rd, where the moon, as she does every month, goes over these two as well, by degree. And the moon is our soft underbelly. So on those 2 days there, 22nd, 23rd, there can be some change afoot, some feeling of sensitivity there. But also the tendency with Pluto is breakthrough and then transition. Okay, so because remember, and don't ever forget, that even though Pluto is the energy of the snake, Scorpio is the energy of the snake, the healer, the energy which moves from one state of being and one standpoint and one perspective to another, this energy is very, very powerfully regenerative energy. However, we do tend to have to come up against a critical mass, whether that is, and that could be emotional as well, or that can be, you know, a battle going on between our logic and our gut. It can be that kind of power struggle, but there tends to be power struggles when these two, when we're getting a bit closer to these two, whether that's just within yourself or whether that's being played out in front of you and you're just witnessing it, which it altogether could be. On a bigger stage, it could very much be like that. But Pluto eventually, you know, gets us to die to an old way and then be reborn to another. Uranus is kind of just sort of the surprise and the shock that comes in with you know, something radical, some sort of radical. The cogs, you know, in the great machine are just clicking and changing. So anyway, that time frame there. Also, it can be that you have a kind of an epiphany about yourself or a relationship, or maybe it's something material, financial, to do with property. It can be something along those lines as well. So anyway, this is a time to look out for between the 19th. It's about a week, isn't it? Okay, but in general, as I say, the actual positions of the planets, these two planets here, and then followed by the Sun, are generally good. And Mars is in there at the very beginning of the month, though, just in the first few days. By the way, the Pluto-Uranus aspect is particularly pertinent for people born in the first week of April, and also just in the first part, maybe, of the first week of April. And also, what was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh yes, I just want to mention Jupiter as well, because Jupiter is actually, for those of you born mid-month, making a stunningly brilliant aspect to your sun signs, anyway, for those of you born mid-month. And then, of course, the other thing that we've got to talk about, and I'm fast running out of time, is that Saturn is shifting signs out of this quite positive angle, actually, to your sun sign, or rather from this quite challenging angle to your sun sign into a positive angle to your sun sign. Oh, I'm glad I got that right. And that will be happening on the 24th. Mars, your ruling planet, is, you know, working in the same way as Venus and Mercury and the Sun, or the same area as Venus, Mercury, and the Sun, but is doing that just for the first 5 days of the month, making you more aware of your general direction in life, schemes, plots, plans, you know, and where you're going. But then very quickly shifts on into the next area, which is very future orientated, progressive, and really marries up really very well with the position of the Sun and Mercury and Venus in the first part of the month, this expansive area where you're learning a lot and connecting, you know, with unfamiliar thoughts and areas, maybe in territories. And then also matches pretty well with the next area that the Sun and Mercury and Venus go into. You could feel as though you've got a lot on your plate because of the expectations of the group, maybe, but also you can be seen as somebody who is a motivator within a group dynamic, who's the driver in a group dynamic, and others might tend to look to you. But this is definitely the time for you, Aries, to be getting the ball rolling, or to catch up with a ball that's already rolling in your life, whatever that's about, whether it's about a group or not. And then Jupiter, I've just touched on briefly. This planet of potential abundance and expansion is very positively influencing your sun sign all the way through till next August, and allowing you to be more self-indulgent, playful, frolicking around, creating, being entrepreneurial, being speculative, being just going for where that power point is in the external world, which marries up with that core joy in your internal world. And you Arians born in the last 10 days are with 19 to 23 degrees rising, going to feel the energy most this month, but of course it's the whole sign. And then Saturn is coming out of Scorpio. You've heard me mention this a lot over the last couple of years, coming out of Scorpio until next June. And you know, there is you maybe having had challenges related to finances, related to property, related to your deeper inner feelings in a relationship, related to your old bad habits, whatever, but really kind of getting you to think more deeply about things, and being perhaps more honest with yourself about things. And now Saturn is about to move. You Arians born in the last 10 days with 26 degrees rising, going to feel that energy the most. But then Saturn moves on the 24th and comes into a very supportive aspect with your sun sign for about 6 months. And there can be some deep insights about belief systems, about ideals, about those at a distance, foreign lands, education, travel, language. Developing a new understanding will be slow. You're chipping a shape out of a stone. It's sudden, so it's nothing sudden with Saturn. It's slowly dawning on you, gradually dawning on you, what the truth of the matter is, or getting your head around a huge subject, field of interest. Maybe it's not huge, maybe it's small, but it's big for you, you know. And it's kind of because you've understood that key thing, then that just is, you know, makes a bigger picture for you, because this is just one part of the puzzle that you've been maybe after for a long time. And you Arians born on the 21st, 22nd, or with 0 to 1 degrees rising, and feel that energy the most this month. And that's it for December. I wish you a happy time in the festive season. Listen to your rising sign or your moon sign, and you can also read some of this stuff on my website. It's written up there. The bones of it, the basic notes are written up there. And I'll see you the next time with the stars for the whole of 2015.